Once the tree has been sawn at the mill to its sided dimension, then we bring it back here and we have to true the face and make it straight and flat. And that's what we're doing now. It's a lot of hand work, but over the course of a couple of days and a lot of manpower, we'll get it so that this face is absolutely straight and it's true, it's level across. And at that point, we can start to saw out the two timbers. This log will give us 2 keel timbers.
I'm cutting the forward end of the chine log so it'll index into both the knee behind the stem and the rabbet on the stem. At least marginal fit, and then we'll fit everything after it's in place. We'll fit everything that's going to the surface out here that the planking is going to fall on. We'll fit that later.
Today I'm wrapping up the frame repairs, replacing old iron sick frame ends with new white oak, so the chine has a solid surface to be fastened to.
We stretch a string down what will be the center of the keel, not the edge, but the center. That's what we want to control because we want to box the heart in the timber. And so this string represents a straight line through the middle of the keel timber, and it tells us the high spots and the low spots.
Many times historically on a big ship, a wooden ship, they would box the heart for the keel timber. And one of the things you would look for in a boxed heart would be a very high quality tree and kind of equidistance, so you're centering it. So you have a lot of annual growth on all 4 sides. If you were to try to box the heart and have the heart too close to the top or the bottom, you're just asking for big checks, and that's not acceptable. But if it's big enough, like this you could box because there's so much growth above it and below and laterally that'll be stable. And one thing to look, when I'm buying trees, you check where the orientation of the pith at the bottom, the butt log, and on the tip. And ideally, on a really good tree, there won't be too much wandering of the pith. It won't grow upwards or down. It'll be a relatively straight line from here to there.
This log is the first one to render our keel timbers. So we have a keelson section and we have a keel section, an outer keel section beside it. So it'll give us 2 pieces of keel stock for the Coastal Queen. We will need to get another length to scarf into this one to make the full length keel, which is 55 feet.
I'm cutting the forward end of the chine log so it'll index into both the knee and the rabbet on the stem. I use a Japanese saw because it would take longer for me to set up the angle on a circular saw. I'm relining it out because I couldn't get it in the appropriate position to put the proper lines on it. So I did some lines, I got close. I'm a little closer now. And hopefully, by the time we put this up 3 or 4 more times, we'll have it right.
What this is called a slide hammer. And this is the hammer part of the tool. And it slides along like this. And it hits the end, causing blunt force to whatever the vice grip on the end is holding on to.
There's a lot of iron fasteners in the boat in the old frames that actually caused a lot of rot in coastal Queen. It's amazing that we're pulling this stuff out that's original from the 1920s.
So these are the bevels we took off the starboard side. So hopefully they should fit better, in theory, than the port side did. So that's my 4-foot mark. This is my 4-foot bevel. See, I'll put that on there and I'll cut to that same bevel. A bevel is just an angle that we need to cut on this because this is going to be angled and twisted. And when the planking comes up into it from the keel, it's going to have to be at a specific angle. And that angle has to be cut on here so the plank sits flat on it. The chine log is connected to the frames, and it's also the platform for the planking to land on. The whole edge of this piece is going to be kind of beveled like that, but it's not the same in every point. It's going to be a rolling bevel that actually comes back on itself. So we have the bevels taken at 8 feet, 12 feet, 16.
So these planks that we pulled off are getting replaced because of this. These are original planks that were installed using iron drifts on the edges of the planks to help align them. And now it's rusted and expanded to over 1 inch in diameter, which then destroyed the wood fibers around it. So anywhere in the top sides that we see these streaks of rust coming down is probably indicative of a drift, so that needs to be addressed.
What we're doing now in steaming the chine log, we've encapsulated the entire chine log, all 23 feet of it, in a piece of plastic tube, and we're shooting some high pressure steam up into it. The rule of thumb is that we steam it for an hour for each inch of thickness of the wood. Gotta make sure all these are on top. You turn it down a little more again, just melting the plastic. That seems okay. We're getting steam out that end. 200 degrees. We have a temperature gauge. It's a laser. We can point at any section of that and see what the temperature is. Anything over 180 degrees or so is fine. So after 2.5 hours or so, we're going to bend that into position and clamp it in there. We'll take the plastic off and let it cool, and then it should retain its shape. And then we can bolt it in position. A lot of times, you don't have a long enough piece of wood, or the piece that you need is, this is a 65-foot long piece of wood. We won't find a piece consistently that long. So we're joining 4 pieces together with scarfs. And a scarf is basically, you cut a section out of one and a section out of the other so they join together and it remains the same thickness throughout. The first 2 chine logs are each 23 feet. The next ones are about 18 or so. I've already cut the scarfs on port side. That's actually the next thing I'm going to do right now is cut the scarf for starboard. This is our scarf joint that's going to attach to the back end of the piece we're steaming right now. We already have a scarf cut in that side. My process is I kerf it with a circular saw, I don't know, about 60 times or so, setting the depth differently into my scarf so I can just use a hammer to remove a good portion of the wood. A lot of people, they'll just take a power plane, and just plane it down. I think this just removes a lot more wood, makes less of a mess, and I think it's a little quicker because I also get a baseline at the end here where I know where to stop, because we're doing nibbed scarves, which have a little They call that a nib at the end here. And they index in to each other when they fold on top of each other. After I pop all these out with the hammer, I'll hit it with a power plane to rough it out, and then I'll finish with a hand plane.